My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is how you prosecute a neighborhood for stalking. They're sitting in their vehicle, starting their loud engine is audible activity, sitting in the middle of the street with the method of light activity facing. They're doing so while the fake has moved from remaining over the library. This is at the infamous Rock of Faith, where the fake sun is right here over me after 4 p.m., where the Ontario police are stalking. Just the U.S. military are targeting with the people of the state. 7 UKP 415. That's a serial stalker as well. I'm prosecuting the entire entity. That's a serial stalker, serially engaged in surveillance and furtherance of murder with the military that are going to be committed. This is evidence of severe mental instability, psychopathic. They're engaging in what is terrorism while their oath is to protect. Malicious criminal conduct while they're acting in furtherance with the population, engaging in an obsessive, delusional conduct, meaning it's not a secret. They're not successful in it. They're doing it while they are looking at the evidence against themselves. They're continuing as though they're going to successfully succeed in their criminal objective. All of this is relevant to the involuntary commitments that the U.S. military shall be subject to. What you need to know is that they're demons, and so are the people of the state that are gang stalking in their homes. They're all being prosecuted while I am at Rock of Faith, as I documented not only April 30th, 2026, but I'm at this fake church where this entity is engaged in what is abuse, criminal defamation, and also a threat to commit criminal summoning. While you are gang stalking, understand that that is the formula where the U.S. military is the reason why you are going to federal prison. And this is exactly where I stood, where Southwest Airlines engaged in what is stalking. Stalking by hovering over, and so did Alaska Airlines, hovering over, stalking me. And the proof is this judicially noticed fact that the son would not be at the same address, 325 B Street, which is also going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's over 11 hours. We'll just say over 10 hours, 10, 11, 9, 8, 7, 6. This is the P.O.C. And you're going to have gang stalking, organizations, as I refer to them appropriately as fake churches, that are going to be federally prosecuted. They're engaged in the federal RICO, and they are engaged in what is federal offenses that are documented right here, where the Ontario police are stalking, and this is how you're recognizing it on the roads and the highways. The entity's doing so while they are monitoring under the fake sun, and these are this is the entity that's losing their privileges to drive. They commit murder on the roads and the highways in the same way that they're gang stalking with the military on the roads and the highways, literally engaging in surveillance like you see in their vehicles. This is what the entity is doing. This is relevant to what are acts of terrorism by the same entity on the roads and the highways in concert with California Highway Patrol, the guise of what is law enforcement while surveillance is underway. Actually, not car accidents, not tragic accidents, okay? This is a mentally ill population. But nonetheless, this is P.O.C. This is the evidence, the scientific evidence, moreover, that's putting the offenders of Rock of Faith in prison. Okay, engaging a battery, defaming my character, accusing me of stealing while you're stalking. Not only is it a lie, but it's malicious. You know that it's a lie. So they're not just ignorantly repeating things that they heard about me. It's audible activity under a fake sun. That fake sun that was hovering over the top of my head while I'm on the property of this venue, 325 West B Street. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:46 a.m. That's called an ambush. That's psychological torture while a population is levying war everywhere that you're going, stalking incessantly. And they are mentally ill, engaging in the P.O.C. This is the entity that's going to be involuntarily committed. And every commercial airline company is being prosecuted. Every single one. There's no takeoff. This is a judicially noticed fact. There's no takeoff. That's a stalker with their headlights on. And this is a stalker engaging in what is a U-turn, flying over the housing community. Not only are there no takeoffs, you're clearly not even headed to a destination. This is all the evidence of the state of California that is indeed stalking. This is what the Los Angeles International Airport's engaged in. This is what John Wayne International Airport is engaged in. This is what Cable Airport is engaged in. This is what San Bernardino International Airport is engaged in. This is what the Chino Airport is engaged in. It's surveillance in the state of California, every single last one. And the entity is engaged in that which is a threat to national security, and they will be shut down as the U.S. military has shown itself to be engaging in that pattern of conduct that I go from city to city and county to county. And the hallmark of stalking with planes and helicopters is fully documented. This is P.O.C. It's relevant evidence regarding mental illness and the entity that shall be subject to martial law. P.O.C. All right, I want you to pay attention to this. I gave an example. I spoke about this in Rancho Cucamonga. What UPS is doing right here, this is a hovering that's centered on Holt Boulevard, and you see where they're concentrating their turn, where the people of the state are stalking, pacing together under what is the fake sun that you know. This is impunity, license plate, habit is closed. They come and do a U-turn right. This is the P.O.C. This is a co-conspirator of murder, and so is UPS, okay? This is the fake sun that's here after 5 p.m. It's literally right here at 4 p.m. where FedEx is gang stalking at Elite Shipping, 5 EVG 350. This is a demon. These are not just criminals, these are demons. And this is a fake son. I'm going to prosecute this demon in a courtroom. And the entity is engaging in this at Wood Valley Detention Center, this very conduct, and what is using a massive commercial plane hovering over the land of West Valley while Shannon Dykes would maintain kidnapping with the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police and the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court and the people of the state that go to jail and they're gang stalking in the facility, which is why Shannon Dykes, San Bernardino West Valley is subject to disbanding for kidnapping me as I'm exposing this system. And the entity, while they were kidnapping me on the bus, while my body was chained up, while the people of the state were engaged in a massive sex act, engineer light, molesting my whole body. The sun kept over the fake sun the fake sun will remain over the buses. While these demons were stalking on the roads and the highways and they maintained their ritual while they were conducting a kidnapping. And the entity were stalking in the planes, just like what you just saw hovering over this parking lot. The entity would do that over West Valley Detention Center while I was on the bus. And this is the demons that are engaging in a ritual over me while they were conducting a kidnapping in furtherance of murdering me while they psychologically torture. This is Shannon Dykes' engagement. And I want you to see that image because that's what they were doing while they were committing kidnappings. Shannon Dykes is a kidnapper. And so is Lisa Rogan, the presiding judge of Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. And this is, and I just want to be clear, who are they pointing at? The ones that are stalking in the parking lot, stalking in the venues, stalking inside of Stater Brothers. You already know. You're not knocking on the bathroom door as though you're ignorant. And I documented that psychopathic means of a sex offense. You know exactly where I'm at. You know exactly who I am and what I'm doing, including while my panties are down. And you seek to break into the bathroom under a fake sun. This is an entity that is going to be subject to what is martial law by virtue of exposing. This is proof of a mentally ill population that's engaging in surveillance that is psychotic and sexually perverted. And they're stalking in a grocery store under the guise of stalking inventory all around me, blocking the path, creating light activity like they are inside of the grocery store. This isn't the sun, that's light activity, and it's not the artificial lighting inside of the store with the multiple shadows and whatnot while they're stalking with noise. This is all right. This is a conduct that Shannon Dykes shares in San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office that's engaged in what is criminal evasion of service of process in order to conduct this murder, which is documented with regard to the civil courts in 2020. And also you have what is the entity that's engaged in multiple kidnappings while they're stalking, okay? This is going back to who is Lisa Rogan. She is going to prison, okay? She committed kidnapping while this pattern of conduct. She committed kidnapping as her engagement in the pattern of conduct, which is why you are not conducting any court hearings. And shall be understood where the government is engaged in this pattern of conduct and you have under any circumstances called yourself conducting a court hearing while someone is outside being targeted, you're going to prison. So this is going to force you to pay attention, because while you call yourself engaging in a court hearing, anything concerning the target individual, except for the fact that you're issuing warrants for the feds to conduct a raid, to have an American citizen released from kidnapping or something of that nature, you're going to prison, because the entities engaged in the pattern of conduct because they called themselves holding hearings pertaining to that which is nothing other than defamation. And you shall not engage in defamation to defend stalking. And that's what the entity has done, and done so with Tracy Banks, done so with Jason Fields, done so with the United States government that used the city of Ontario to do so. It's prison. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's stalking, and everybody inside of Stater Brothers is going to prison. Just like at the Ovid Family Committee, everybody that works at that library is going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:01 a.m., and this is the evidence of what is the federal prosecution of Alaska Airlines. They're not headed to Seattle. They're not going to Honolulu. They have yet to even conduct a takeoff. Alaska Airlines is competing with what Amazon Prime is doing over the El Pollo Loco, what Southwest Airlines is doing over this Habit after 4 p.m. where the fake sun's right here and they're acting like they're landing. Remember, this is the entity. Alaska Airlines is being federally prosecuted. That's not a takeoff. They still have yet to conduct a takeoff. That's a judicially noticed fact under a fake sun, which is a judicially noticed fact because the sun would not still be here 12 hours from now, 11 hours from now, 10, 9, 8 hours from now, which is on the record, where this airport is now flying over what is the village, where they're also pay attention to what they're doing over the library, the U-turns in alignment with my person, hovering over the senior citizen complex, still not conducting a takeoff. Where west of that location, you have still to maintain or conduct a takeoff. This is the entity that is stalking as you understand that system. Moreover, the greater totality of facts is the courts are not going to provide a means whereby you are going to exercise any authority that is
in effect, because you claim that you're holding a hearing about what is acts of defamation, trying to render evidence against the government as illegitimate in doing so. The substantive purpose, value, the affect of what you're doing is how you're going to be prosecuted. And where you are facilitating this criminal conduct, you are going to prison for it. And there shall not be any sort of government entity that's going to raise a defense. That's what you're trying to do, deflect, and doing so by virtue of your identity. And it is no defense for the government to defame an American citizen that you are clearly stalking. Alaska Airlines and UPS and the entity that is stalking me in these planes, United Airlines, they're very unintelligent with regard to the clearly identified methods of targeting. And you at the same time think that it's separate and fragmented, where your pattern of conduct, and then you're just going to disregard that and try to defame. You're delusional and you're going to prison. And you are clearly unfit, incompetent. You're not even keeping a bar license by virtue of that, let alone your criminal activity. Be prepared, because you're going to prison. This is P.O.C. Everyone inside of Stater Brothers is stalking, as the entity has already proven to you before I entered the doors. They're engaged in surveillance, stalking in the path, stalking in the parking lot. That's an employee, 8TJE732, and they are going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 7:04 a.m. P.O.C. All right, the people of the state are ganged on the highways. 8JRZ655, I believe. 8UPL318. And they're doing so under the fake sign. He's stalking where he lives. License 7WUK879. Getting in his vehicle at least. Parked right here in relevant position. Maintaining traffic, pacing in and out of the facilitating venue where they reside. Pacing at the intersection. This is G Street. The entity is keeping the fake sign over Tracy Banks' apartment when I'm there, including this time of year, the entity committed kidnapping, May 29, 2025. The entity was keeping the fake sun from sunrise till sunset. And this fake sun is at this hour, which is 8:38 a.m. west of Tracy Banks' apartment number 51, which never happened. The entity was setting the fake sun where the Ontario police, the U.S. military, were stalking by helicopter from sunrise until sunset, as that fake sun remained rising on the east side of Tracy Banks' front door, apartment number 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments, and setting on the west side of that same front door, unit 51. License 9WSX621. This is the fake sun at what is 8:39 a.m. My evidence also shows, as of 2026 even, 81204 Nancy 2 is stalking on the roads and the highways, engaging what is an unlawful threat in violation of a privilege to operate a vehicle on the roads and the highways, in possession of a California driver's license while gang stalking a terrorist, doing so in furtherance of murder with the U.S. military. The entity's keeping the fake sun over me at 8:35 a.m. on video in Fontana, California, while I'm at Spring Street and Sierra as well, where the evidence also shows it's there in the evening at that same intersection while I'm inside of that Fontana Lewis Library, showing you video of the same intersection. This is where they're stalking where they live. License 9AQC823. And they're serially stalking. The fake sun is moving as I move. You're stalking where you live. 9WNG733. Doing so with minor children. Targeting an American citizen with the entity in furtherance of murdering that person. Doing so malicious. See that fake sun reflecting off of the windshield? Yeah, they're going to prison. They're being deported. They're being subject to martial law. They're going to prosecute. And this is also where the military is flying right over their facilitating venue where they live. This is pacing, not traffic. It's also unlawful. It's not individual rights of freedom of speech. They're engaged in surveillance in California. This is the entity that's going to be locked in by martial law. This is the fake sun that's moving as I move. It's not moving over that vehicle. Okay, the sun is not doing that. Over everyone at the same time. When I'm showing you what I move in this direction, this is where the fake sun is moving. North, not south. Okay, 7JHX771 is a stalker, and she's also a lesbian. All right, a predatory, hostile, obsessed sex offender of a homosexual nature. 9TXW401. This is P.O.C. This is documenting what the entire entity is engaged in. This is Ontario. The entity has this fake sun on San Antonio in the middle of the afternoon, stalking me by helicopter, which I'm documenting on this same block. Okay, where the entity is stalking me by black helicopter and flying in circles. That's the same street in the middle of the afternoon. The entity is stalking Delta Airlines. That's the same street, San Antonio Avenue. This is P.O.C. Every single last one is engaging in stalking as an ongoing concerted effort. These are cult members. These are demons who are demon-possessed people who are part of a cult. And that cult is identified with regard to prosecution, the U.S. military. P.O.C. All right, it is currently 8:41 a.m. 7STB748 5MXV108, 8WYV238, and this is 735 North San Antonio Avenue, 727 North San Antonio Avenue. And you're looking at the fake sun now going in the direction south, stalking me. 8YCR446 in custody of children, which they're losing custody of them while they're engaging in terrorism. And that's all your purposes. You don't care about your kids and your spouse. You don't have any business other than gang stalking. And because you're malicious psychopaths, that's also why you're losing custody of children that they will also harm while they gang stalk in this malicious manner like an entire population is showing. 723 North San Antonio Avenue. The fake sun is progressively moving south over me as opposed to remaining stationary over them. All right, the entity that's engaging in this as immigrants, they're all being deported. This is P.O.C. You don't have any constitutional protections. You're not on private property. You don't have any freedom of speech rights. It's the government speaking. It's the government residing. It's the government traveling. And they're all demons, by the way, stalked with a possible eye moving across all of their homes. They're all being prosecuted. They are the people of the state. This is the state of California. It's currently 8:42 a.m. This is P.O.C. P.O.C. This is stalking. And it's also the picture of mental illness, the quintessence of mental illness, addiction, obsession by an entity. And what the government is doing, the people of the state are doing. And they're doing it over a senior citizen complex. There is no takeoff here. This is outside of zoning. This is occurring where the entity is stalking me under the fake sun, the fake moon, the Ontario Senior Center, flying over the Ontario City Hall, doing so at what is 11:18 p.m. This is where the entity is stalking me all day long, stalking and monitoring all night long. This is what an entity is spending millions of dollars on as well. And this is the evidence that's going to have the gang stalking mentally ill of the so-called U.S. military. This is showing that they are no military and they are being dishonorably discharged in a military tribunal where they will also hereby be subject to involuntary commitments. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 11:19 p.m. at the Ovitt Family Community Library where the entity is maintaining ongoing criminal activity surveillance. The entity is stalking and surveilling me through the Ontario Police Department, through the Ontario Fire Department, through American Medical Response, and through the people of the state. And the entity is using stalking in planes and helicopters. All right, and you know all of that by the entity hovering over what is a matter of judicially noticed fact. There is no takeoff, first of all, that's even coming from the airport right now scheduled. Second of all, that was not any sort of takeoff. This is the entity hovering over a building. This is miles away from the airport, meaning the entity is targeting by virtue of presence over this location, which is miles away from the airport, having not conducted any takeoff. And you're not headed to a destination when you are miles away from the airport, hovering over the building when you are doing so at this hour, and the entity is engaging in this where they are engaging in that pattern of stalking in planes. Okay, and the Ontario International Airport is criminally cooperative with the military that are stalking me in planes that have no passengers on them, that are not taking off from the airport, not headed to a destination, and doing so in this psychopathic manner that I document plane after plane after plane all night long. And this is a city effort, as I show you from city to city, the entity that is stalking. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 11:20 p.m. This is P.O.C.